Hello friends, welcome to Whatcott Rants. Today I'd like to talk about Amnesty International. They are having a policy convention in Dublin, Ireland, and one of the items that they're going to be debating is the advocacy for the full legalization of prostitution. Apparently Amnesty International believes that the selling and buying of sex is a fundamental human right. Now, of course, I think this is insane. I worked as a home care nurse prior to coming to Christ as a drug addict. I've certainly sold drugs to prostitutes. I'm very well acquainted with that lifestyle. Not proud to say it, but I used them myself back years ago, and I've completely turned away from that and am following Christ, and I know women who've left that lifestyle, and the ones who leave the lifestyle certainly do a lot better than the ones that remain in it. Certainly prostitution will always be harmful, whether it's legal or not. It will always spread disease. It will always be associated with violence. Many Johns are sexual deviants, and whether it's in a country like Holland where prostitution is legalized, or whether it's in a place where prostitution is illegal, like Manila, Philippines, the women who sell sex to these deviants will be subjected to violence. In Amsterdam, one of the arguments for legalizing prostitution was that it would get rid of pimps, and they'd have nice, safe, government-run brothels. Hasn't worked out that way. The pimps are still there. In fact, women are trafficked from Eastern Europe and Ukraine, and the police are powerless to do anything about it because prostitution is legalized. So women are being forced into the sex trade against their will in countries where it's legalized, and whether you go to a government doctor and get an HIV test or not, if you're having sex with hundreds of men, including high-risk men, there's a great chance you'll get HIV, and it will be life-ending at some point. You will die before you were supposed to. So I don't think you should ever legalize prostitution. You should look at eradicating it. Maybe you can't eradicate all of it, but you can certainly cut down on prostitution. Certainly in Canada, we used to vigorously enforce anti-soliciting laws back in the 50s and 60s, and prostitutes, they existed, but nowhere near the numbers that they exist today in Canada. Now our Supreme Court has struck down the prostitution law, and the police aren't really enforcing it anywhere. I guess the arguments of Amnesty International are winning out in the postmodern West. But certainly mothers and children of these men who cruise for sex, they're going to be hurt. The children of prostitutes are going to be hurt. It's just not a good life for children. And what we should be working towards is encouraging women to leave the lifestyle, and for men to not look at having sex with whatever moves as some kind of human right, but rather we are called to fidelity, we are called to self-control, we are called to respecting women. And like I said, men are hurt by prostitution too. It becomes a sexual addiction. It's a vicious cycle. The men put themselves at risk of violence, getting robbed, because these hookers are sometimes dangerous women. Men will also get HIV and various STDs that they'll infect their wives with, and then they destroy their families and they lose. So for Amnesty International to call this some kind of wholesome human right is just a lie from the pit of hell. Interestingly, Amnesty International used to support political prisoners at one time in various repressive regimes like the former Soviet Union, the People's Republic of China, North Korea. This is where real human rights are violated, where if you speak your mind on a political topic and you don't agree with the government of such a tyrannical regime, you could go to prison or even face death. Now, once upon a time, that was the primary focus of Amnesty International, and they did good work in being a voice for intellectuals and political prisoners who dissented from the dogmas of these tyrannical regimes. Well, now Amnesty International supports political prisoners going to jail, like Linda Gibbons. Here she is being carted off by the police for speaking up for the unborn. She was not violent. There's a picture of her sitting on the sidewalk before the police arrest her. She was not obstructing the abortuary. She was not threatening the women. She was merely offering a life-saving alternative to women seeking abortions, offering help such as baby cribs, baby food, counseling, housing. And for doing this, she was arrested and sent to jail for more than a year. I wrote a letter on her behalf, and many others did, to Amnesty International, and their position is that abortion, the killing of babies, this 7-month baby was torn to pieces by an abortionist and felt pain before he died. And this was a male. It wasn't the mother's body. That was a male baby. This picture that I'm showing here of a 7-month legal abortion. Somehow Amnesty International thinks putting pro-lifers in jail and killing babies is consistent with their definition of human rights. Well, obviously they've abandoned their age-old tradition of upholding free speech, upholding peaceful assembly. Rather, they think killing babies and prostituting your body is a human right. So my advice is, don't support Amnesty International. They don't support real human rights. They don't necessarily support free speech if you happen to disagree with their left-wing dogma. They don't support the right to peaceful assembly if the protest is life-affirming and doesn't affirm their left-wing dogma. They think selling your body and putting yourself at risk of disease is a human right. That is not. That's human degradation. They think killing babies is a human right. That is a violation of the most basic right to life. So if you want to support real human rights, I would recommend the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. They support free speech. They support the right to religious liberty, which Amnesty International even hardly talks about the persecution of Christians anymore. At least the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom still does. And they support the right to disagree with your government and freely speak your mind on all topics. So that's it for today, folks. If you're interested in the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, they can be found at www.jccf.ca. Have a good day and God bless. And remember, Jesus Christ died for your sins.